Millions of people receive long-term care, many of them suffering from debilitating diseases like Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia.
And for that reason, people seek out nursing homes and assisted living centers that promise the best memory care for their loved ones. But that's not what they always find. A warning, some of what you're about to see is graphic. Our Melissa Hippolyte investigates.
You gonna wake up for me, sweetie?
Relaxing in her twilight years, Bertha Henfling sleeps a lot. And can't remember much about the last 95 years of her life.
She doesn't know what day it is. She doesn't know where she is. Some days she doesn't know who I am.
Bertha suffers from dementia.
You doing all right today?
Causing her to forget the decades she spent as a nurse and the names of her 6 children.
That's probably thousands of people that she took care of. And now when she needed to be taken care of, I feel like I let her down.
Carol Garbo says she failed her mom when she placed her in a Chesterfield assisted living facility back in February.
I was let in by the sales pitch. It sounded great.
Brookdale Midlothian's website says it's a leading provider in Alzheimer's and dementia care and provides a secure environment for those with Alzheimer's and dementia. But Garbo says just 12 days after move-in, her mom had to be rushed to the emergency room after tripping and falling while using her walker.
You can see the nose is smashed, so is the forehead. The mouth is cut up.
Garbo says her mom fell at least 12 times in the 11 weeks she lived at Brookdale.
She ended up with black eyes and a huge cut on the head.
5 times ending up in the ER.
You're not saying that she's never going to fall, right?
No.
In a facility.
Correct.
You understand that she probably will fall.
She can, but there are measures that can be put into place to lessen the severity or lessen the frequency.
And you don't think that they did that?
No, I don't.
On top of that, Garbo says when she visited her mom Easter morning, she found her lying in her own urine, completely alone, with no caretakers in sight. Garbo says she repeatedly met with staff at Brookdale, including the executive director, Jeff French, to talk about ways to remedy the issues.
They said in the beginning when they assessed her, and I have the assessment papers, they recommended a low-rise bed. They recommended fall mats. They recommended, a few other things. Very early in February, we moved her in. That stuff didn't happen.
Finally, Garbo says French told her that she would have to pay for a 24/7 caregiver or her mother would need to be placed at a different community.
I thought, really? You folks haven't done anything that you said you were going to do. But now it's up to me to pay for the caregiver instead of you hiring more staff.
Garbo contacted the state office for long-term care advocates who tried to help resolve the situation. But she ultimately decided to move her mom to a new assisted living facility. That happened in April. And Garbo says since then, there have been no emergency room visits.
It is so much better. It is a night and day difference. These folks really know what they're doing. They spend a lot of time with my mom. They call me on a regular basis with updates.
Garbo told CBS 6 she later filed a complaint against Brookdale Midlothian with the Virginia Department of Social Services. And she's not alone. CBS 6 found DSS records that show 8 complaints have been lodged against it since September of 2013. And 59 violations have been found since April of 2012.
I would think that the staff really needs a lot more training and a lot more staff. And they really need to start looking at people instead of the bottom line.
CBS 6 emailed Jeff French and requested an interview to address Garbo's concerns. We were turned down, but were sent a statement that says Brookdale Midlothian takes the safety of residents very seriously. They provide appropriate training to prevent falls, and even with the most proactive approach to fall management, older adults experience falls in any home-like environment. But we wanted more specific answers, so we went to see French.
Can you tell me anything about the quality of care here or your staffing? Do you feel staffing is appropriate here?
French was polite, but would only refer us to Brookdale's corporate office.
It's been reported up, so the PR team has, communicated what they feel it necessary to communicate.
One local nursing home did open its doors to us.
Come in.
Hello. Westminster, Canterbury, and Richmond.
This floor is mostly people who live here long term.
Routinely receives great reviews.
Care starts and ends with the staff.
And while the facility is one of the more expensive in our area, President and CEO John Burns says there are certain things every nursing home should offer regardless of price.
You walk into a facility, you should see staff. Doesn't matter if it's brand new facilities or if it's freshly painted. The care that happens in there is really about the people that work there and the supervision that occurs there and the management of the organization.
Burns says you need to do your homework before you send your loved one anywhere. And state long-term care advocate Joni Latimer says her office can help.
Talk to the local ombudsman, talk to your area agency on aging. Those folks have some direct knowledge of facilities and long-term care services in their community.
Garbo says she thought she had done enough research, but now realizes that just wasn't enough.
Someone's got to advocate for these people. You know, they're not able to do it anymore. You know, so someone's got to step up. If the situation was reversed, there's no doubt in my mind my mom would be there for me.
Now, the state has confirmed to CBS 6 that they are currently investigating a complaint at Brookdale Midlothian. By the way, days after she contacted us, Carol Garbo received a confidentiality agreement in the mail, I'm holding it right now, from the company that owns Brookdale. She showed it to us, and it says that Brookdale would forgive the roughly $2,000 she owes them if she agreed to never speak about Brookdale or the proposed settlement. Garbo says she has no intentions of ever signing that document. Working for you tonight, I'm Melissa Hippolyte for CBS 6.
We have an update tonight on a CBS 6 investigation into complaints and violations at a local assisted living facility.
Earlier this month, we spoke to a woman who says she pulled her mother out of Brookdale Midlothian because she believed a staffing shortage and lack of attention contributed to her mom falling and hurting herself more than a dozen times in just 3 months. Tonight, for the first time, 2 former employees are speaking out about their experiences working there.
We have a warning for you, though. Some of the images you're about to see may be unsettling. Melissa Hippolyte reports.
And that's me and her again. And she just always loved her little sweaters with all her little designs.
Pictures still on their phones remind Jennifer Martin and Norma Duncan of all the good times at Brookdale Midlothian.
I feel like they really thought of us as like their grandchildren.
The cousins worked as certified nursing assistants at the assisted living facility for more than a year.
We're all that they have, so you try to make their day the best as possible.
But they say bringing comfort to the residents, many of them in the throes of dementia, became more and more difficult.
They're truly kind-hearted people, but they don't deserve the care that they're receiving.
Brookdale Midlothian is one of more than 1,000 communities owned by the nation's largest long-term care provider, Brookdale Senior Living.
You can see the nose is smashed, so's the forehead.
CBS 6 investigated the Midlothian branch after Carol Garbo told us her mother fell more than 12 times in the 3 months she lived there, requiring 5 visits to the ER.
And it's truly sickening to see what happened to that woman.
Before she quit in 2015, Martin says she spent most of her time working in the memory care unit with just one other CNA during her shift.
You have to watch almost 30 residents, and there's 2 people on the floor, and the med tech is busy passing medicine. There's no way you can keep an eye on every single resident. I've seen so many falls.
As for Duncan, she worked on the assisted living floor. She says when she first started, there were 3 CNAs scheduled for that unit, but ultimately that number was reduced to 2.
I mean, you can't expect 2 people to run the whole upstairs building as well as 2 people downstairs. There's just way too many people.
Duncan says the quality of care quickly dropped because the staff was overwhelmed. Then she says people started pulling their loved ones out of the facility. And that made things more difficult because they started accepting people who she felt needed a different type of care.
I mean, there was people that, they expected you to do on your own that are completely nursing home level.
We've learned Virginia law only requires assisted living facilities to have 1 staff member awake and on duty in each building when at least 1 resident is present, and just 2 direct care staff members awake and on duty in a dementia unit, no matter the number of residents. Still, facilities are required by law to provide staff adequate in knowledge, skills, and abilities, and sufficient in numbers to maintain the physical, mental, and psychosocial well-being of each resident. As we have previously reported, the state is investigating staffing levels at Brookdale Midlothian, and the state requires that assisted living facilities make sure their CNAs receive at least 12 hours of annual training, including 4 hours of special training if they are caring for dementia patients.
I didn't get any training on the dementia, how to talk to them, how to, I just had to go off what I thought was right.
In our original story, Garbo told us Brookdale told her she would have to pay for a 24/7 caregiver after her mother's numerous falls. Duncan says that happened frequently, and families should not have been put in that position.
If they're being accepted into this facility to pay thousands of dollars or whatever they're paying for that resident, it should be on us. If they need more care, we need to hire somebody else.
Despite the challenges, Duncan says she would have stayed at Brookdale, but she had to relocate to Roanoke last year. But she says she still worries about her former residents.
You know, you think about it every night before you go to sleep. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what kind of care they're receiving.
Martin says she worries too and says people should seek long-term care elsewhere unless changes are made.
I could never imagine someone sending their parent there knowing, what I know about this place.
Now, we reached out to Brookdale Senior Living and told them that several former employees had expressed concerns about staffing levels and other issues at the Midlothian facility. They declined to give us an interview, but did send us another statement, which reads in part, with the safety, security, and well-being of our residents as our highest priorities, our leadership team recently met with current residents and family members to introduce our new health and wellness director and to reinforce open communication between the community leadership team and those we serve. We recognize there may be areas for improvement within our community, and our team is actively analyzing and enhancing the staffing levels, skills, and training programs to deliver on our promise of providing quality care appropriate for the unique needs of all of our residents.
An update tonight to a CBS 6 Problem Solvers investigation. Allegations of negligence at a Midlothian assisted living facility that's part of the largest senior living provider in the country.
Well, just 3 weeks after our story first aired, we're learning that the state finds the facility guilty of several major violations. Our Melissa Hippolyte has the story.
This is one that came a couple weeks ago. They're just tacking on late fees now.
Bills from Brookdale Midlothian continue to pile up at Carol Garbo's home months after she removed her mom from the assisted living facility.
I'm still not going to pay it. I don't feel I need to. This isn't my responsibility. So, and the investigation backs it up.
Garbo is talking about an investigation by the Virginia Department of Social Services that cited Brookdale Midlothian for 7 different violations, all related to staffing and personnel issues at the facility.
I'm thrilled to see all of this stuff. I'm really glad that the Department of Social Services went ahead with everything and they validated my concerns.
DSS conducted its investigation after Garbo filed a complaint with them about a lack of staffing at Brookdale Midlothian and sat down with us to show us these photos of her mom who suffers from dementia.
You see the nose is smashed, so's the forehead.
She says they were taken after her mother fell more than 12 times in the facility in less than 11 weeks, requiring 5 visits to the ER.
Finally, there was somebody who listened. And you folks listen too, so thank you.
The investigation shows the facility's administrator failed to oversee the day-to-day operations. The facility failed to implement actions to prevent falls and failed to have sufficient staff to maintain the well-being of residents. In fact, one staff schedule cited in the report shows 3 staff vacancies during one shift.
I kept thinking, can this be right? And, inside I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know if anybody would do anything about it.
We visited Brookdale Midlothian's executive director, Jeff French, for a second time to talk about the violations.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Good.
But he once again referred us to corporate.
Still can't talk about it, even though the state found some staffing violations.
I would still have to defer you to corporate.
Garbo says she's just happy the facility will have to make adjustments. But she hopes state legislators will consider changing regulations that only require assisted living facilities provide 2 direct care staff members in a dementia unit, no matter the number of residents.
You got to do the right thing. You got to do it for the right reasons. And if your family should be right there at the top. And my mom is. She's my hero.
Now, in addition to visiting Jeff French, we reached out to Brookdale's corporate office. They sent us the following statement, quote, "The safety and well-being of our residents is something we take very seriously. We are working with the Virginia Department of Social Services on a plan of correction. We are in the process of reviewing community systems and retraining associates. We look forward to welcoming the state back into our community to review changes and verify we are meeting the standard of care our residents expect and deserve," end quote. Now, the state will determine over the next 4 to 6 weeks what, if any, sanctions should be imposed on Brookdale Midlothian. Working for you, I'm Melissa Hippolyte, for CBS 6.